Tonight's story is another in the series about Lumi and the Land of Dreams by Kids Bedtime Stories. Before sleep arrives, sometimes a quiet question appears. It isn't loud. It doesn't sound like a riddle. It doesn't ask to be answered. It simply rests somewhere inside and whispers softly, "Who is he, really?" Maybe you've wondered about that too. About the small rabbit who appears when the night becomes gentle. About Lumi who sits close, never rushes, never judges, and knows how to speak to sleep itself. Tonight, if you'd like, I will tell you about him, about how it all began, about Lumi before he became the guardian of dreams. This will be a calm story, one that doesn't hurry, one that flows slowly. You can simply listen, breathe, and let the night keep its rhythm. Long ago, Lumi did not yet live in the Dreamland. He did not know the paths that feel like thoughts just before falling asleep. He did not yet know the dream sparks by name. He did not even know that there was a place where dreams wait before finding children. Back then, Lumi was a very small rabbit, the kind that is easy to overlook because he never pushes forward, never shines too brightly, never calls for attention. Lumi simply was. He lived where the world had its ordinary sounds, where daytime carried footsteps, voices rustling leaves, and distant noises of things happening on their own. Lumi liked the day, but he loved most the moments when the day began to end, when everything slowed, when the sun stopped hurrying, when the world began to speak more quietly. Not because Lumi loved silence for its own sake. He loved what appeared when the world slowed down. Small things, gentle signs others missed because they were busy with something bigger. Lumi noticed when the wind changed direction. He noticed how the grass bent differently. He noticed when night arrived softly and when it arrived carrying extra thoughts. Lumi had a special ability, not one you could see right away. It was the ability to listen, but not to loud things. Lumi heard what was quiet. He heard things without words. He heard trembling. He heard hesitation. He heard a prose before it knew how to become a sound. Sometimes, when others were already asleep, Lumi would still sit in the soft grass and look up at the sky. He wasn't searching for signs. He wasn't counting stars. He was simply looking. And he felt that night was more than darkness, that something moved beneath its surface, something not frightening, just vast, like an ocean you cannot see, but can feel breathing far away. One night, When the world was nearly ready for sleep, something happened that at first looked like nothing at all. Lumi stood at the edge of a clearing. The air was cool but not cold, still warm from the day. And suddenly, Lumi felt as if the night had a small opening inside it. Not a tear that hurt, more like a space gently made. Usually, night is like a blanket. It wraps, it covers. But this night was like a door left open, just wide enough for a breath. Lumi did not feel afraid, not because he was brave like a storybook hero, but because he carried calm inside him. And calm often walks ahead of courage. He stepped closer, and then he heard something he had never heard before. It wasn't a sound like those in the human world. It wasn't a rustle or a splash. It was more like a whisper of light, a very distant, gentle saying, "I'm here." Lumi tilted his ears. The world slowed even more, as if the night itself wanted to help him listen. In the air, just above the ground, a tiny spark appeared. Truly tiny, like a drop of light, unsure whether it wanted to shine. The spark floated, trembled softly, then drifted toward Lumi. It did not touch him. It stopped just in front of his nose. Lumi watched. He did nothing. And yet, the spark seemed to sigh with relief. Then another appeared, and another, and another. Not many, just a few. But Lumi immediately knew they were not ordinary lights. They carried something soft inside them, something like a thought wanting to rest, something like a dream that had not yet learned its shape. The sparks began to whisper, not with words, with gentle vibrations Lumi understood without translation. One said, "Too bright," another, "Too fast," another, "Too much," and one said nothing at all, only trembled like something afraid to be alone. Lumi sat down very slowly so the sparks would not feel rushed. And then he noticed something else. The opening in the night was not random. It was a passage, and on the other side, the air smelled different, like morning mist, like earth after rain, like a blanket pulled up in a warm room. Lumi took one step, then another, and before he could wonder whether this was a good idea, the opening in the night became a soft boundary, thin as fog over water. Lumi passed through. There was no flash, no loud sound, no moment that shouted, "Everything changes now." Instead, the world simply changed its pace. and Lumi found himself in a place that looked like a dream, but was not a dream. This was the Dreamland. It was not loud. It was not empty quiet. It was filled with delicate movement. The air breathed. The ground was soft and warm. Trees leaned low, as if remembering every child's unspoken wish. And in the air floated countless little lights, just like the sparks Lumi had seen before. Only here, there were many more. Each moved as if it knew a rhythm no one had to learn. Lumi stood still for a moment, not from fear, but from respect, like standing in a library where someone is already reading. The sparks that had followed him rose slightly, as if happy to be home. Then, from the shadow between the trees, a larger spark appeared. Not large like a lamp, just larger than a drop. Its light was calm, the kind that says, "I understand." "You are not from here," it whispered, this time with real words, heard not in Lumi's ears, but inside him. Lumi twitched his whiskers. "I don't know where I'm from," he answered honestly. "I just heard you." The spark circled him gently. "Few beings hear us when we speak our softest," it said. "And you heard." Lumi didn't know what to say, so he did what he knew best. He listened. The Dreamland carried many things at once, not noise, multiplicity. Each spark held something different, a feeling, an image, a rhythm, a fragment of a day that hadn't yet rested. Some sparks were calm, some trembled uncertainly, some shone too brightly, as if trying to push darkness out away instead of befriending it. "Who are you?" Lumi asked. "We are dream sparks," the larger one replied. "We are dreams before they become dreams. We carry what children bring from the day and what night tries to arrange." Lumi watched them carefully. "Why do you tremble?" The spark hesitated. "Sometimes we don't know how to settle," it said. "Sometimes a feeling is too big. Sometimes a thought moves too fast. Sometimes the day stays inside too long. And when we cannot settle, we may become dreams that are difficult." Something soft tightened in Lumi's chest. Not pain, empathy. "And then what?" he asked quietly. "Then we need a guardian," whispered the spark. "Someone who will not push or fix us. Someone who will sit nearby. Someone who will help us breathe." The word guardian hung in the air like a feather. Lumi did not grab it. He did not say, "That will be me." But he felt how perfectly it fit everything he had always done. He stayed. He listened. He waited. "Do you already have a guardian?" he asked. the spark dimmed slightly. Sometimes the wind helps, sometimes the trees, sometimes the dreamland itself. But there are many children, many nights, and dreams. Dreams are delicate. Lumi looked at the sparks that trembled the most quietly, not the brightest ones, but the softest. And then something remarkable happened. On Lumi's chest, exactly where his small rabbit heart beat, a faint warmth appeared, not light like a torch, more like a patch of sunlight on the floor, as if the night, the dreamland, and the sparks all whispered together, "You can." Lumi froze. He looked down. The warmth was small but real, warm, calm. It breathed. "What is this?" he asked, though inside he already knew. "It is the light of sleep," whispered the spark. "It appears in those who know how to stay, who hear the quietest requests, who do not rush." The warmth spread slightly, not brighter, warmer, as if saying, "Now you may." But Lumi did not move right away. He sat down. He closed his eyes just a little, enough to stay present, enough to hear what was even softer. And then he heard a request coming from beyond the dreamland, far away from the human world. It was not spoken aloud. It was a request of the body. Tension that would not release, alertness that refused to sleep, a feeling that something needed watching, even without knowing what. Lumi opened his eyes. "A child?" he asked. "Yes," whispered the spark. "One of many. Tonight, this one calls the softest and the longest." Lumi did not ask for a name. He did not ask for a reason. Night does not always give explanations. Night gives signals. "I will go," Lumi said. It did not sound heroic. It sounded like a decision. The boundary between dreamland and the human world was thin as mist. Lumi crossed it so gently that the night did not even stir. He saw a room, quiet, safe, ordinary. A child lay in bed, tired, yet held tight by watchfulness, as if the day had left the task behind. Stay alert. The child did not cry, did not call out, simply could not let go. Lumi sat nearby, not on the bed, close enough to be felt. The dream sparks hovered low. One pulsed with a steady breath, another spread warmth like an invisible blanket. A third carried a simple message: "You may rest now." Lumi did not speak much. He did not explain. He stayed. He breathed. He waited. After a while, the child released a long breath. Shoulders softened. Hands unclenched. The heart slowed, and Lumi felt the light on his chest grow warmer still. The child fell asleep, not suddenly, like a boat stopping its struggle with the water. Lumi stayed a little longer, making sure the night was gentle, that sleep had settled. Then he returned to the Dreamland. The dream sparks gathered around him, glowing softly. "You stayed," they said, "and that is the greatest help." Lumi smiled. From that night on, he knew dreams do not need fixing. They need company. Silence is not empty. It is waiting. Bad dreams are not monsters. They are tangled sparks asking for warmth. And so Lumi became the guardian of dreams. From then on, Lumi lived in the Dreamland, not in a palace. He never liked large things. His burrow was simple, moss-lined, smelling of earth and morning mist. A round window let dream light in, a soft place for tired sparks to rest. Every night, Lumi paused at his doorway, because night loves rituals. He listened, not to the loudest dreams, but to the quietest ones, because dreams never shout, they ask. And now we return to this night, your night. Lumi is here, sitting quietly, looking at you. Maybe you understand him a little better now. Not as someone far away, but as someone who was once small too, and followed the night gently towards something good. If sleep hesitates tonight, that's okay. Sleep does not like to be rushed. It comes when it feels warmth, when it feels safety. If a difficult dream appears, remember, it is only a dream, a tangled spark learning to speak. Silence is not empty. It is a soft room for your breath. And if you need closeness, that is natural. Warmth is natural. Presence is natural. Lumi does not ask you to sleep perfectly. He simply stays. So now, do the simplest thing. Get comfortable. Feel the blanket. Let your breath find its pace. Inhale gently. Exhale even more gently. And know this, you are safe. Good night.